Okay, we are here. How was well, let's see. I think first we should introduce. Let's see. My name is Stephen Barr. We talked about AWS made easy. Talk about AI, about cost optimization, really about anything but AWS. And today we have longtime guest and friend of the show, Brian Huff. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Stephen.
And you just finished up the AWS Hero Summit.
I did.
So luckily, you're in Seattle, and we almost a tradition now.
Yes.
Hanging out, having some food, winding down from the summit. How was it?
It was amazing. We, I really like that being able to close out Seattle on a high note, especially getting some pad thai and just talking about tech. It was super fun last year. A little rushed because I was getting to the airport, so it worked out really great time-wise. But this was we actually got to, I think, dissect a lot more tech topics this time. So that was really fun. And yeah, the Hero Summit, it's interesting because last year I had just become a hero. So I was very new to the Heroes program and even taking on that identity, right? So this year was very different because I kind of came back and there's a lot of people that are industry experts in that program, people that are thought leaders. And I'm kind of clustered into that group as one of the more younger AWS heroes. And I think it was interesting because there's people that I've become friends with through the program and through just AWS community in general, like you. And it's kind of cool as I've been building Tech Stack Playbook, which is my business, to sort of see a year out, I'm making the right choices or right decisions. Oh, there's these things that you might want to think about with running a business, especially if you're starting a business. If you've never been a business owner before, there's a lot of things that you need to think about. So it's cool. It was cool to come back to the Hero Summit and see okay, I'm using the right tools and technologies. I'm learning about the right frameworks and I'm using those for client work. I'm doing all the business things that are needed. Okay, here's the growth areas. So it's very reflective, I think, this week.
Because AWS Heroes, it's not just about AWS, but you get to know, everyone from there. They're not AWS employees. They are other business owners or part of large companies. And so you get to kind of check in with them and get another cross section of the industry.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I mean, people that are from just working in different parts of the world too. I mean, it's really cool to see how AI is developing across a lot of different companies, a lot of different regions of the world, a lot of different priorities. But one of the things that's really interesting too is how we all are unified by Python, TypeScript, Terraform, CDK, AWS. We might be working in different industries or different regions, but it all kind of unites us together, which is really cool to see.
It's funny that you get to get together and at first it's social, but then you end up talking shop, no matter what.
Exactly. It's always fun. Yeah. It's always about the community. Yeah.
What were the highlights? I mean, clearly AI has come up a time or two throughout the summit. So
yep.
What's the buzz? From the AWS perspective?
Yeah, I was actually recording a video for my YouTube channel right before I came over to see you. So I think that there's three camps, and you want to be in at least one of these two camps of the three. So there's the people that are building AI. These are people that are building AI models. They're building AI tools, dev tools, people that are building platforms, right? So then there's the people that are adopting AI. So they might not be building these technologies, but they might use them. So we can be that if we're using Kiro or Cursor or Cloud Code or Cloud Code or any of these other types of platforms that are vibe coding or helping us work really quickly, like ChatGPT or something like that. And then there's the camp of people that are just going to get eaten by AI, right? And I think it's the biggest lesson that I've learned from this week is that you need to be in one of those two first camps. You need to either be using these tools or building them. Because if you're not, you're just going to see full industries just get digitized, I think. And I don't say that as a fear monger or anything. I just think of we have to wake up and recognize the power of AI. And even I know as a formerly just a single person business owner, and now I have a whole team behind me, small team, under 10, but I kind of wanted to think that I could do everything myself. And, you sort of take that on of you might not be able to afford, to hire people. So you're doing it all yourself. But then you sort of get to a point of should I hire out or should I do it myself? And then you think, well, I don't really want to hire. I want to do it myself. And then it's you could use an AI to help you with certain parts of it. But it's but then I don't know if I want to do that. And it's with the AI tools, it's just, you can work so much faster. You can learn so much quicker. You can make things that are less error prone. So that's kind of where I'm especially coming out of the summit. There's a lot of stuff that I can't talk about, per AWS NDAs, of course, just everywhere. But the biggest thing that I think I'm interested in right now is just you have to learn how to build and leverage AI. That's the biggest takeaway right now. And you don't even need to be a coder to use AI. I mean, there's a lot of powerful tools to build right now, but I think of all the technologies that are out there, they're abundant, and you just need to find like what are the right tools that help you accomplish what you need, and how do you move faster? Because just the pace of everything is going to only continue to go up, I think.
Okay, so what would you think the distribution? I want to ask that. Okay, so in terms of people who are going to get eaten by AI, this is just. I suppose people who, if you don't accept that this is coming, you don't modify your workflow to leverage this, and eventually you're going to realize, okay, I put in all this work, all this time in order to do something, and then I can be replaced by a series of questions to a prompt. Okay, which is it's humbling, right? Because you want to distinguish yourself from that.
I mean, it's not as like cut and dry as that, right? Like there is that creative element that like makes us human. So like that's what will keep us hopefully employed. But I think that and I know that there's a lot of people that will like be like, what's the single programming language that will help me get a job? What is the one cloud platform to help me get a job? What is the one thing? I just don't think we can live in a world of just one things anymore. Like I was doing like React, TypeScript, app development stuff until all of a sudden I needed to know how to do Python stuff. Now we're doing Fast API, Flask, doing all these different types of configurations, like Python with Lambda, like all these different types of configurations. But then it's like, okay, you might need to use infrastructure as code. Okay, so I'm familiar with Amplify, but let's say Amplify is not what a client needs. Now you need to do CDK. Okay, this company now uses Terraform, but maybe they use Terraform and then serverless framework. So it's like you can't live in this like I learned this one thing and this is the one thing that's going like the one tool to save them all or the one language to save them all. It's like you have to like move so much faster. That's kind of like where I'm seeing it. I don't know if you feel the same.
Well, yeah, like I used to know people who've been older than me who would say, okay, I've got my career mapped out. I'm going to learn this one thing. My conference, I'm going to go to these 2 conferences every year. And that they could. You could go to these 2 conferences every year for the next 25 years. Mm-hmm. And that was that. And now, the conference that might be the most important conference that you go to in 2030 might not exist right now.
Right. Yeah. Which is wild to think about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, reInvent will.
yeah, of course. There are certain things that will stay the same, but the content at reInvent is probably going to change a lot because you can see now, like especially in the public catalog, a lot of like catalog conversations, topics, abstracts. That's the word. In the abstracts, you can see sort of like what's already there, and a lot of it is AI. It's AI and how to deploy like infrastructure as code. I feel like the dev tools, AI technologies, and apps and servers. Those are kind of like the main core components that won't change. But yeah, the types of technologies we'll be able to roll out will just get more and more advanced. There'll be more like exciting things to build, but got to keep up with it.
So I have a question for you. So I feel like since AI tools came out, I feel like I've relearned how to program like 5 different times. Like first I was like, okay, I can write this by hand in Emacs. And that was my thing for 20 years. So you just use Emacs and maybe a terminal somewhere for compiling or interpreting whatever I was doing. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, okay, I got to use copy and paste from ChatGPT.
Yep.
And then it was using tools, but there was a bunch of overhead, learning Pydantic. And then it was Bedrock agents. And then it was ChatGPT tools. And now it's MCP. Like, is this a bunch of churn? Or are we crawling up the abstraction hierarchy?
That's a good question. I think we're always going to abstract higher, but so you might not get to like the Emacs level, but I think one of the we were talking about this too. Like, let's say you're building an application, and you use Claude Code or Kiro or Cursor or whatever you use, or ChatGPT. Like you use these tools, but then it's like, how do I change this UI experience? I want to like do this specific thing. So then it's like at a certain point, like the AI might not be able to do the thing that you want to do. And then there's not enough prompt engineering to like figure out like is it me as a prompt engineer, is it whatever, like it might not be able to do the thing. But then like you then will need to go and be like, okay, like what is the foundational element here? There's HTML, there's CSS, and then you're really going to need to learn like here's like the CSS, like this is how like you style and you develop. So I think there is like as we abstract and we get like farther away from the foundation, you will need to know where that foundation is, because if the AI can't do what you want, you can't just be like, oh, well, like Chad doesn't know how to do the thing, so like I guess I'm cooked, I'm done. You can't do that,
It does take a while, I guess, for those abstractions to be strong enough. like I guess I can say like I don't know assembly,
Oh yeah, sure.
and that is, and
Same.
we are well enough insulated from that you will never need to.
hmm
Like unless you decide to get into like really high performance, and even then you probably wouldn't. You just get a good compiler and
Oh yeah,
like
probably go Rust.
yeah, Rust or C++ or CUDA or whatever. But you wouldn't need to. You would never need to know that.
Right.
But right now you kind of the I guess the levels that which we're abstracting over are themselves still moving.
Yeah, yeah. It's like interesting too because I think like would you really need to know deeper than like Python? Like would you need to go to like the C bindings level of abstraction? And I think especially now you're seeing like a lot of technology transformation towards Rust. So like I've like dabbled a little bit with Rust, not enough to like say that I'm much more like TypeScript and Python developer, but I like dabbled a little bit with Rust. But that's the thing where like if Rust becomes like the preeminent framework, like we're going to need to use all the AI to like help keep up with the industry and everything. So it's like like how deep do you need to go down the rabbit hole? Like I think it depends. I remember like when I was learning AWS, it was like I wasn't sure how much I would need to like know in the sense of AWS, and you sort of start with like maybe S3 and CloudFront to deploy a website, but then you're like, well, what if you want to do data modeling? Okay, NoSQL versus SQL, relation RDS versus like Dynamo, Cognito, Lambda, like Kubernetes.
I guess I guess you get to know it along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of interesting thing about Rust. Okay, here's a terminology question. So like I would say like I've handwritten 0 lines of Rust.
Mm-hmm.
But then I say I've supervised the writing of, or what is the word that you use for saying like I've had AI driven projects that are implemented in Rust. Do I say I've written it or
I would say you developed it
because
it's like
I developed it. I didn't write it.
I think it's still developing. It's kind of like, especially with clients, like one of the things that I've learned, like just in building my own business, is like a lot of clients don't care like how you got to the end. I mean, obviously, like they want you to build something authentically and like correct, but it doesn't necessarily matter like how you arrived at the destination as long as you get there and it can continue to get them where they need to go. So it's like whether it was AI that was helping you or a colleague or your mentor or you taking a lot of coffee and just like a lot of late nights working. It's kind of like as long as you get to the end goal, it kind of doesn't matter. Even like in the Stack Overflow copy pasta era of development, right? Like I think we're still in that era, but I remember like a lot of like my mentors would say like this was like my very first tech mentor. He said if you copy something from Stack Overflow and you don't know how it works, that's problem number 1 to 100. Because if something breaks down, you can't just be like, oh, I don't know how it works because you put it in there. So I think it's kind of like as long as you understand what it is, and we can use AI to help us understand like the code that it built. But I think like AI supervised development is still software engineering. At the end of the day, you're solving a problem, you're solving an issue, or creating a solution to a potential problem. But I don't know if I would subclassify it as anything less because it's still development at the end of the day. But what do you think?
I agree, and it did use my programming wisdom in terms of algorithms, and in terms of, I guess the harder part for me was because I didn't know Rust very well. Like I didn't know the state of the ecosystem, and I noticed later that this picked an old library that isn't used anymore. And I think newer models and better tooling around it, like I'm sure I could have found a good Rust prompt. They would have said use these libraries. And that's what I have for Python. I said okay, for my Python projects, has to be at least 3.13 and using UV to manage everything.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I still feel like it's writing code, and any more than I'm sure there's people who said that if you're not writing in assembly, it's not real programming.
Right.
Or a magnetic tape and a steady hand and a needle, right? That.
Literally.
Everyone's going to say that something isn't real programming, but if it gets the job done, that's what really matters.
For sure. We're problem solvers at the end of the day, and we're builders, so we just have to keep the mentality. I would say, though, that even if you didn't have necessarily, like, if you might even consider that expert level Rust, I mean, you probably have way more Rust experience than me, but I think the way in which you would talk to an AI about Rust would be much more advanced than if I was to come at it, So it's like even, like, super AI supervised development, just to use your term, it's like, you still need to have that background in engineering because it will code how you prompt.
Well, actually, funny enough, so I went down a multi-year Haskell rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
And that's super cool stuff. It's really hard to do like production grade stuff, but it's so, theoretically nice. And that really helped with, like, I didn't know the details of Rust, but
Mhm.
my Haskell background and like strong functional type languages and how to design things in a functional way, that really did help.
Sure.
And it was nice because bridging that gap was I could use English to bridge that gap and not trying to figure out how to re-express myself in Rust.
Oh, totally.
Okay, so you had the Hero Summit. That was one entire action-packed week.
Yes.
Awesome. A couple hundred people.
Yeah. It was about 200. It's about like 200 heroes. I mean, I think a little over 200 globally. So it's very inspiring to be a part of a group like that. I mean, especially like a lot of people that are in that program were like either people that I like read blog posts about. Oh, I want to implement this architecture, or like there's this cool service. Like they're like the go-to expert of how to use that. So it's kind of cool. Very humbling to be a part of that level of expertise. Just be around that environment. It feels like like a university on steroids. Just being around that energy. It's very infectious.
And so what were the days? Was it like meeting other AWS people and I guess lectures, talks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. A lot of it is like builder sessions. So learning like how certain services are like basically like what you could build with certain things. So a lot of the people would like make repos and like I'm sure from like other conferences and talks, and they'll walk through the code of like here's how this service works, and they also give insight into like roadmap too. So sort of like what's coming in the pipeline. So
got it. Okay, so without violating any NDAs, what are you most excited about?
What am I most excited about that I don't break any NDAs? That's a good question. I'm going to use my words carefully. I think, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I'm coming into this, and I know like a lot of the content and the ethos that I've been putting on social media and like conferences that you've seen is like why vibe coding isn't enough. And I think there's like, because I had a lot of conversations on social media and like at conferences and events where they'll be like, but AI can do this. And it's kind of like, yeah, sure, like AI can get you started, but what you end up needing is real development expertise to do certain things. And that's kind of where like the vibe coding stuff kind of peters out. And that's where the real engineering begins. So coming out of the AWS Hero Summit, like I'm very renewed of like, I'm happy and excited to be a software engineer. Because there's all these articles now that are coming out of like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have learned software engineering. Like software engineering is cooked. Like, why did you learn these things?
You're going to be like the last person putting on horseshoes, right?
Yeah, and it's like a lot of people were comparing it to be, and I remember like on social media there was someone that was like really into vibe coding, and they kind of were like going at it like with me in conversation. I was like, oh, what kind of energy is this? I don't like go on like Twitter fights with those types of things, but it was like they came up with an energy, and they're like, well, if you are just spending all this time coding, like I'm gonna be building like billion-dollar applications while you are just working with some bugs, and I was like, okay, like that's an energy that I didn't come prepared for.
I mean, I've thought that before, not to that level, but thinking like, what's the point of starting any SaaS company?
Mm-hmm.
Like once you can describe it in natural language, like can you just have any SaaS company that you want on demand? Like,
well, that's the thing. The answer is no. The answer is that AI can help pretend and like virtue signal to you like it can. But for example, like we had a client that we took on recently, and they had a software, and they said, "Oh, our app is done; it's ready to go live." And I went through like my own kind of like security checklist, which at that certain stage it was kind of just preliminary. They had all their keys hard coded into the app, so like they were using like 4 different models, all client side. Like it was basically like all exposed into like the deployed bundle, and I had to explain to them like, yeah, like all like 11 labs, like Claude, Perplexity, Chat, all these things, all these keys I'm able to gather. And they were like, well, how did you do that? And I was like, well, that's like, it's all in how you built it. And they're like, but I trusted this tool to help me. Like, what do you mean it's not ready? And I had to explain like, yeah, like this is what happens when like, and this is the thing too, like if you try to do something, like if you try to do surgery and you have an AI that's helping you, but you have no medical expertise, you're going to run into a lot of problems, because unless that AI can like specifically 100% like account for all these different edge cases, like you're going to be doing surgery, but you don't know how the surgery works. So it's kind of like coming out of the summit. Like I'm proud to be a software engineer. Like I'm excited. I don't feel like I'm cooked, but I think that there's going to be like, and people keep saying like there's going to be more millionaires than ever before, and like I don't know if there will be. Like I think it's going to just be the same. I think like there's going to be like the people that are hungry. They want to develop. They want to build real solutions. They're going to partner with experts. But there's going to be other people that like want to get there, but they're not going to put in the work to try to figure out like, am I ready to go live? There's all these vibe coded apps that have been published on social media, and like they what was it? One of them, I think it was Replit. Like the AI agent like deleted the database.
Oh,
Did you hear about that?
No. I'll pull that up.
Yeah, like
Okay.
so. I mean, that's not specific to that agent. It's like specific to just vibe coding in general. But a software engineer would have known. Well, we need point in time recovery. We need backups. We need to make sure that we have multiple databases that are distributed, so that like if something were to go down, you can like revert back. You can have disaster recovery. Like there's all these things that are just like. Of course, you would need this. But if you're trying to, what is it, skip steps as you walk up the staircase, and you think like you know like everything that you need to know, you're gonna be surprised. Like the biggest lesson also that I think I've really learned over the past 4 years of learning and development, if you're overly confident about something, you're missing something big. That's kind of like with vibe coding. It kind of like coddles you into thinking that it's doing everything, and then you're kind of this like human that's like looking back of like watching your AI minion like go and like develop the app, but like you really do need to know the fundamentals. It's the unsexy stuff that is the most important. It's not necessarily the glamorous shiny tech. It's usually like the boring stuff that
Like
works.
dealing with authentication and
So
I've
important.
seen it where it tries to like rip out important components. Like, no, don't fix it by destroying it. Fixing it by making it work.
Yeah. No, it's true. And that's a thing where like and I think nowadays like anyone can become a software engineer, even more so. Like I was learning how to code in a really hard time where like there wasn't any AI, there was no LLM, there was no chat, there was the internet and Google search and being able to like search this, find the one blog post or the one Reddit thread or the one GitHub issue that had something. So now like it's easier than ever to learn how to build a software engineer, but we have to really think about this of like this is building the thing so I understand what it's doing, because it can do a lot of stuff, but do you understand what it's doing? So that's like the biggest lesson I have coming out of this summit is that like I'm really excited to be a software engineer, but I'm also excited to help people like push past that MVP stage into production. Like that's a lot of like I feel like I'm learning tools that I can take back to my client work, to my friends, to my colleagues, to people that I can actually help. Like this is something where like I see it almost as like an act of service, where if you can help save somebody like a $100,000 or $1 million issue, that's amazing. If you could help somebody solve a problem, if you could help someone launch an application that like helps them get investment, and then they become like I don't know top 10 in the app store, like that would be so cool to like be able to help people accomplish those things. So that's where I see this of like I want to use these skills, these tools that I'm learning from this week to actually help makes better, faster, safer software for people that I know and can help.
That's really neat. Because, like, I guess being able to write code really quickly and to ship code really quickly. I mean, the market will get filled with people who are going to charge 1,000x what it's worth to try and fix that. To being able to say, look, I know what to do. I can help you.
Yeah,
That's really neat. A good perspective on it.
yeah.
Okay, so I had a good question for you.
You've been rolling out a lot of great questions.
Okay, so with anthropomorphizing AI,
Ooh.
like some people are very for it, some people are very against it. My personal take, I find that I'm not totally against it, but I don't think about it as like a normal neighbor that you would go and have a beer with at the end of the day. It's more of a savant that is. I don't know. What's your take on how do you anthropomorphize them, or are you anti that, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm very pro AI tools. I use AI with almost everything. Even like we're talking about like spec documents for like new contracts up to like coding, like out featured solutions. Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that I use AI, I try to really dive in and understand like what did it do? Like how did it get here? Like like, and it does like all these different things, but then it's like, what was the rationale for this? What was the reason for this? Like, why does this work over this work? So as I use AI, I feel like I try to understand like, why did it work, or why did you do this over another solution? So, but yes, I'm very pro AI. I think I just try to understand like what it's actually doing at the end of the day, because it's easy to just like give into the vibes and like the AI knows everything. But I think also like sometimes you need to challenge the AI and be like, actually, I think we should do it this way because of blank. Because otherwise, like this is where like the passenger becomes the driver. You really need to make sure that you're always in the driver's seat, I think.
Yeah, it's way too easy to get lazy, and well, you remember The Simpsons with the bird that kept hitting the
Yep.
Y key.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy to have that. Um, and I
Literally.
think about the mistakes that I have caught, where I thought, okay, wait, like I can see. I use Perplexity a lot,
Oh, I love
and it
Perplexity.
shows the information, but occasionally you're like, wait, from these 3 web pages, you cannot infer this fact that you just told me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just does not exist in the information presented here. But then I
Literally.
think I only knew that because I knew what to look for. But there's a lot of cases where I didn't because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I didn't know. So I guess what do you find when you're developing to protect yourself from unknown unknowns?
Ooh. That's hard. It's hard because sometimes like you won't know what's like downfield. I think the biggest thing that you can do though is like test like significantly test anything before you ship it. And that's like
Mhm.
the whole point of you do like dev, stage, prod. There's a reason why a lot of these tenets of software engineering are like what everybody does. Because if you do have unknowns, you really need to catch those. And I think some of that also is like chaos engineering a little bit, or like basically trying to like check like, do I have rate limits, do I have like spam protections? Like there's a lot of problems that you might experience like when you ship something that you might not expect. And I think a lot of what I've at least from like clients is like trying to get ahead of problems that I could see. It's usually not problems with the technology, it's usually like problems with how people could use it. So you want to make sure like people can't like exploit systems that you build, like make sure that there's like protections in place to prevent bills, like making sure that your app doesn't become like their replacement for chat or like Claude or something like
Yeah,
that. I think,
Anytime where you have customer facing AI,
Mhm.
you think, oh, I can just start talking to this as much as I want, right? And
Right.
you might be a used car sales agent, and
Hmm.
nothing is preventing me from just using that as my AI from now on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, if I turn that off.
No,
Okay.
literally, I do. I think about that a lot of just like how like yes, because people will use like if you build a great product, people will use it like that's what you want. But then you want to make sure that if you are charging for your service, because we don't have unlimited budgets, no one does. It's kind of like your expenses now don't become like 5 times what you're making, because then you're not going to be around for very long.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. More practical stuff. Okay. You said you like Perplexity. What is
Love
your
Perplexity.
your go to? What are the tools in your toolkit at the moment, and when do you use them?
Ooh, yeah. So I would say default. We're talking like just AI tools.
Just AI tools,
Mm.
or any other software tools that you use.
Yeah. So Amazon Bedrock, really great. Being able to like have your whole like 30, 40 plus models, you can just like plug those in. Works great. Sometimes for different platforms, I've ended up using Grok, GROQ, like the super
Mhm.
fast LLM, like kind of router, if you will. That's been cool to experiment with. Also, OpenRouter, being able to like switch in between different models has been cool. OpenRouter is similar to prompt routing in Bedrock. If you're familiar with that, it kind of you have a family of models and it will switch between which one is the most cost effective versus the one that can solve the complex
And you
problem.
can route to Bedrock from OpenRouter,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can put up. Actually, there's a good bit of code to do an OpenAI compatible proxy in front of Bedrock, so that's a
Yeah.
good thing to set up.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's
I
awesome.
guess specifically for development, like what do you go to Windsurf? Are you Cursor? Are you Claude Code? Copy and
Ooh.
paste from ChatGPT?
Yeah, I would say big, heavy chat and Claude user. I've used Perplexity actually to solve some pretty tough bugs where you might need like real time insights. So you need to like scour the
Mhm.
internet, find that. Big Hero user, big Hero power user.
Okay, I want to talk about that then. Okay,
Yeah.
so Kiro, we just had one of my friends, Yehuda Cohen. He wrote an awesome Substack on Kiro, and we did a deep dive into
Nice.
specs and how to drive that. What's been your Kiro experience?
Yeah, it's really great coming from like I'm using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity to like analyze files or patterns, but then you'll see how much time you waste going from like code base to chat, get a response. Okay, I need to add more context. Repo repo to chat, and you like copy paste all this stuff. And then if you could just talk to your code base, like you'll just see like instant speed optimizations for like your whole workflow. Love that. The vibe and spec options are really great. I feel like I tend to do more vibe based coding,
Okay.
which is just more like chat with it. But what I ended up doing was like sometimes I won't have it like I will use it for like a fair bit of editing, but I'll have it explain like this type of solution without editing anything. Because what's cool is like it will look at specific files, it will find how files relate to each other, and then you can like start investigating them. And I think I found that to be really helpful. Like in a really big code base, like how do files relate? Because that's something that I think is like is a problem. Where if you deal with code bases that have like thousands and thousands and thousands of files, it's like how do you find like the specific points? And I think you can do like Control F and search, but being able to understand like a map of your code base, like that's something that I found really valuable. And then for working on like more complicated features, I've really enjoyed spec-driven development of creating a plan. Because sometimes it's like you go and you want to like create a feature, and you're like, okay, like I think these are the first three steps, and then I need to do this, but maybe this is later, and then I need to do this somewhere in between the first three and the last two. And it's like if you could just have like a markdown file that can just like give you a list of things to do, or like that it thinks are steps to take, it's so valuable. Not even just from like the execution perspective, but being able to see like how does an AI think about this problem? How would an AI solve it? Because if you can understand that, then you can become a better software engineer. So you can even learn it to like build it, but then also help you become a better person like
Well,
at your craft.
What my friend Yehuda was saying, he was saying that occasionally he'll look at his to-do list and think, okay, project manage this. Is this still consistent? Is this completely internally sane? Or because you can change one task and then it's not going to automatically update the other dependencies and all that stuff. So yeah, it's okay. So when you're using Kiro, how do you see the time distribution? 'Cause I know one thing about Kiro that I would say it feels less satisfying because it's slower, but I guess it's not as back and forth, right? It's not like playing Tetris, right? Where you're always on the edge of your seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, okay, I'm going to put in all this work and then wait for a long time.
Right.
But probably better in the long run. Like, okay, so how much time do you put into a spec before you tell it, okay, just go for it?
That's a good question. What I ended up doing was actually like I might take the conversation out of Kiro and go into chat or Claude or Perplexity. I say all three because I will sort of switch in between like whatever I need for like each one. But it's like I'll basically say like I need you to help me build out a spec. Here's a list of requirements. Here's all these things like whatever. And then what I'll end up doing in Kiro is like once I create that file, I'll actually ask Kiro. I'll be like, here's my like spec document for what I think I need. Can you like review this and can you optimize it? That might be like a vibe, just to literally a vibe check to like make sure that it works. But then I'll then go into spectrum development. I'll be like, okay, here's the plan. Let's execute. So, but I do sort of feel like I mentioned this, like I feel like I tend to be more on like the vibe coding aspect of stuff because I like more of like the quick edits, quick iterations. Sometimes the spec-driven development feels like I'm kind of like, I don't know, like I'm gonna go out to lunch, I'm gonna drink a pina colada, and then like my app is done. Like I don't know, like I don't like build like that. I want to kind of be like in the moment, especially if it gets a little off track. And that's not necessarily like a reflection of Kiro. It's more just like AI in general. It's like I want to be able to like steer, come back in, and be like, actually, let's do this. Let's add these two steps before we proceed. Okay, then we go back. It's kind of like the passenger becomes the driver again. I still feel like I want to be in the driver's seat.
I tried one project with Kiro where I don't think I pinned down my spec well enough, and I ended up with like lots and lots of different tester classes and checkers and validators and validation checkers and all this. Like I get what it was doing, but it was just too much.
Yeah,
because I didn't put the time in up front to think through the design.
I get what you mean. Sometimes it'll do that and I think that's a Claude specific part, but it's like when you're like asking it a question, it might make like multiple test files and we'll try to validate it by itself. But then sometimes like you don't want that. You're like, I just want to test it in this specific file. I want you to execute it like this. So that's kind of where like it left to its own devices, it will try to do the thing as it sees it. And I think that might also be from like a system configuration perspective of like, don't try to add new files, like try to only stay within like the code base. Don't try to add extra fluff, and which you can use in like a system prompt to like talk to it.
And that's where I see people like, yeah, there's overhead in that, but there's overhead in dealing with the person too. People go off on their own tangents all the time, right? I mean, there's a reason why bike shedding is a thing.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
Okay, so Hero, you use Claude Code. I use Perplexity a lot too, like you said.
It's so great. Yeah.
I find it to be very helpful for research. Actually, I've found ones, on the CloudFix side where I was saying, okay, here's something that deals with auto scaling group size or unused CloudWatch alarm signs. Find me stories on Stack Overflow or Reddit where people are complaining about CloudWatch alarms.
Yeah.
And I found that its search was a lot better than like a Google search for the same thing.
No, I agree. I found the same. Yeah.
Okay, so what about Claude Code?
I've used it a little bit. I haven't had a chance to like use it as much as I think I would have liked to. But that's also because like I had like other AI tools, so I never got a chance to like adopt it as my like AI of choice. But that's also like I do have access to Claude. I think like I'll use like actually this is a better conversation to like to try to like tangentify this. So one of the things that I really like about like the web-based LLMs as opposed to like in browser or in IDE or like in terminal editors is the ability to have a conversation that's logged. So like whenever I'm like talking to like chat or like Anthropic's Claude or like Perplexity, like being able to go back into a conversation and historically reference stuff.
Okay.
Because
have you seen Claude checkpoints?
I have not. What's that?
Here. Okay. I'm going to put this.
I'm going to
on
learn
screen.
something. Okay, cool.
So this is for Claude Code, but you can do this thing called Claude checkpoints. Select a folder. Let me find a. Okay. There. How do you select a folder? Select folder. So this is a project that I'm developing with Claude Code.
Oh, this is checkpoints for. Oh, this is like a whole separate application.
Yeah. So what it will do, I'm trying to find. What am I working on? Claude Code. Here. Okay, so this is a project that I've been working on with Claude Code, and this is going to, I think, parse all of the historical dot files and show you exactly all of your logged conversations.
Oh, cool.
So this is large file. Let's see if this shows.
Because maybe this will solve that problem. The biggest issue that I see is that it's like you talk in the IDE, but then it's like I want to save that somewhere. I want to be able to reference it somewhere.
Okay, I'm loading up some giant project right now. Let's see if I have a better project. It's not as okay. I'm really kind of not making my point.
No. I think because you probably use it a lot. Oh, I see you're using Warp, right?
Yes, I use Warp all the time.
I need to check that out. I got an ad for it again today, and I was just like, I really need to check out
Warp. Is great because like what I use Warp for is things like, okay, this is one of the cool things. I had a thing installed on my computer, my desktop. I wanted it on my new laptop. I forgot it was some homebrew tap something, and I just said SSH into this computer. I've got this thing installed. Figure out how I installed it and replicate that installation here, including the like dot files or whatever it needed. And it did that, and that was really useful.
That's awesome.
Let's see. I want to see if I can find it. This is a much lighter project.
The UI is very clean.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess let's see if this works in 1 second. Yeah, that worked. So this is going to watch that folder, and it should start logging the conversations.
Huh.
Let's see if it actually does it.
Oh, I see what you mean. So like what's happening here gets saved to logs in this app.
It should, but it looks like it isn't. All right, well, never mind. This should do what you're saying.
It just did that. Okay, interesting. It's kind of funny watching other people prompt because you're like, oh, that's how I talk too. Ooh, get a fine. I like the names of it.
Yeah.
So you like Claude Code in Warp?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I might check that out as a stack. I'm kind of like Hero with like multiple windows of LLMs in the browser, but I might try to bring this into my workflow. Interesting.
Well, I think that sometimes just seeing how other people do things, that's like really valuable to me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I wonder, like, am I using the tool wrong? Is like no one using the tool the way I'm using it? Just because like a lot of developers work alone.
Yeah. Well, there's no like we're writing the rule book as we use these tools because there's no like first step is this, second step is this, third step, then you're done. Like these tools are coming out like monthly, weekly. Like I haven't even heard about checkpoints for Claude Code, so this is a new thing for me.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna check it out for sure.
And there's another one called Claudia, which helps you like manage all the. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is in Claude Content Map. Here's all the sessions.
Oh, interesting. So this is like a client for your Claude.
Yeah, this is like a graphical. Yeah. So in this project, see that it already picked up.
Oh, that was what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, that's so cool.
And if I go to this session,
okay, this is what I was looking for. Yeah, it's the log of it.
Yeah.
Because then you could like talk to the conversation. I find out, especially for client work, I want to be able to reference like what was I working on at this specific time. Save that chat. How do I reference it? Is this only local or is this also in the web?
This is local.
Interesting. I wonder what the data model is because like if you were able to bring this to the browser, like you could look at it on your phone or you could look at it on your desktop, like kind of switch between device.
Yeah. So
this is Claudia. Okay, Claudia. I'm definitely gonna check this out.
So see, I'm so glad we do these things.
Yeah,
we get to always like.
I was gonna take notes, but then I realized that we're recording, so I'll be able to watch the recording. But okay, Claudia.
And the other one was checkpoints for Claude.
Checkpoints for Claude, and then Warp. Those are like the three ones to check out.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Other good AI related questions. So we talked a bit about kind of why. One thing that I feel with AI is that there's this kind of waiting issue. Okay, the next one's great. The next one's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this. Should I build it now, or should I just wait till GPT-6 comes out, or Claude 5, or whatever it's going to be? That's the thing that it's going to do it even better.
Yeah.
So how do you balance those two?
Ooh. So it's the whole. Do I wait for a better tool, or do I try to make my own thing now?
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah. I mean, I guess the idea is kind of like, okay, I had a great conversation with someone, one of my friends, GJ, in New York. So we were talking about this, and I said basically like the person that invented fire probably hates the person that created the lighter, because could you imagine like you spend all this work, this brain power to come up with fire, which was like incredibly novel invention at the time, kind of like the ChatGPT of the day, and then now this person just pulls out like a lighter, and it's like, yeah, I have fire in my pocket. I can turn it on, turn it off whenever. I can like light things on fire. I could do whatever. Then they have like little like candlesticks where you can like light a birthday candle. Like there's all these different examples. So I think like, but those were like so far apart in the sense of like when they were developed, right? Like
millions of years.
Yeah, like crazy, right? So I think you can't wait for the perfect invention to arrive because it might never arrive in your lifetime. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of like use the best technology that you have at your disposal, and then maybe develop your own internal tool. We talked about this with dog feeding. It's kind of like a very like Amazon tenant or AWS tenant. It's like if you're building something that's valuable for yourself, then you could also use that and it could be valuable for other people. But if you just wait for other people to develop the technology, again, driver, now the passenger, you're waiting for someone else to enable your success. And a lot of my own ethos is like, create your own destiny, create your own future, create your own success. If you just wait for someone else to enable that success, they might never do it. But if you just spent a couple of months, maybe half a year developing something, you might make something so transformational that everyone's like, I need this tool. I'm so thankful that you made it because I wish someone else did.
And
Like,
then once the
you know,
better tool comes out, you can improve on what you've done faster because
exactly.
it's already there.
Like look at like Uber, Airbnb, like Amazon, like all these ideas of like, oh, you can buy this thing instantly, get from point A to point B. You can go to this this room that's like basically like a hotel and be able to live anywhere like across the world, right? Or Amazon, buy anything anywhere, anytime, and have it shipped to you within like 1 to 2 days. Like those ideas were so like that was like unheard of at the time when they first came out, and now we rely on them. So you think about it, like a lot of those times, like I'm sure people were like, yeah, I don't get it. I'm just gonna go to the store, or like, oh, I'm just gonna get a taxi. Oh, I'm gonna drive myself or get a ride from someone. It's like if you just waited like a couple decades, now everybody uses those tools. Everybody uses those technologies. So it's kind of like if those people thought, no, whatever we have right now is fine. Like there's no need to make things better. The status quo is going to always stay the status quo. You need people that are disruptors to think differently, I think.
Sometimes I go back and I read the Hacker News launch post for Dropbox.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everyone's like, oh yeah, this is not, you can do this with this. You can do this with SCP
Yep.
or a couple of shell scripts. And it's like, that's not the point.
Right.
It's just, you have to hit that threshold of being usable. And I think that's where we're at now with some of these AI models where it's like, okay, they've hit a certain threshold where, grandmas are sending memes to each other using these things.
Exactly.
Right. And yet maybe you could have done it with Mid-Journey with 8 different flags and whatever, but it's not the same.
Yeah. There was like the famous Bill Gates interview where I think it was Jerry Springer. He was interviewing him and he was talking about like, because he's basically explaining like the value of software and the cloud. And but it's like you can't call it now. It's a commodity, but back then it was sort of like it's like, oh, well, people are going to be watching sports on the internet. And he goes, yeah, ever heard of going to a game? And it's like that whole thing of like, why would you do anything on the internet? Or like, oh, you could be able to chat with someone instantly. They're like, oh, ever heard of picking up the phone and calling someone? And it's like you don't see it until it just becomes. That's the way it becomes ubiquitous. Everyone is doing it. So yeah, it's like there will be people that won't get it, but I think like if you can find like 5 people where they're like, this is valuable, like this is something that like is amazing, you have something there to develop upon.
It's funny that just call someone, right, and how quickly things change, right?
Yeah.
I'm on the age threshold where I guess people younger than me, well, you tell me, like some people say, okay, you don't just call unsolicited. You got to have a text to schedule the call.
Right.
Where I'm still like, okay, well, just pick up the phone, call. But I guess it's amazing how like in a very short amount of time that whole protocol can change.
Yeah. I mean, very dramatically too.
Yeah.
But it's like the whole like it all happens all at once, so you don't necessarily see the change all the time until. But I even remember like you had like Yahoo Chat or like AIM or like those types of things, and then now you like iMessage, SMS, texting all the time, like WhatsApp. Like those things were sort of oh that's cute, like that's cool, kind of like when like we were like a lot younger, and now this is like the main way people communicate. Like look at Slack and Teams and what are the other ones? A Discord too. Like all these ways of communicating. Like there's companies that use Discord and they like converse. We use Discord at Tech Stack Playbook, but and we also have Slack as well. But it's kind of like no one's picking up the phone and giving Steven a dial. No one's doing that.
No, not at all. Yeah, that's funny. Okay. All right. So tell us, how are things at Tech Stack Playbook? So what's the big, what's the push for the rest of the year?
Yeah, things have been cooking. Things have been really exciting. I think a lot of last year, at least for me personally, was shifting from I'm the one that does all the development to now I have a team of people that I can work with and people that are like amazing people. Like I've spent a lot of time to try to wait to find the right people as opposed to just trying to find a person here, a person there to do this, and this. I've learned from mentors of like take time to hire correctly, find the right partner, find the right talent. So a lot of the last year was like shifting towards this, like we're a team now, which is cool. Like there's a little bit of like aura or riz about that, if you will, which like is exciting because it's kind of cool to sort of have always been like the one person agency to now like, okay, we actually are an agency, like we actually do things like that. Because when you're starting out, like you have to sort of get a business model that works and something that you can manage, but being able to have a team. So that's, I think, the biggest change going into this year. So now we're working on like a lot more projects of bigger cloud environments. Working on a lot of like production workloads, mainly on AWS. I say a little bit of Azure, a little bit of Google, try to be cloud agnostic to a certain extent, but a lot of stuff on AWS. That's been our main bread and butter, and building like a lot of automation and AI, as well as like Kubernetes and servers and stuff.
So from the clients that you have, where are they at in terms of AI adoption? Are people like desperate to get an AI anything, or is it careful? Is it where do you think the pendulum is?
Yeah, I would say from like a leadership executive perspective, like they're very much like they understand that AI like is important. A lot I know from like software engineers like that we work with, like those teams are like definitely like on AI, like to some extent they're probably using AI tooling. So I think there's like a lot of convergence though of like you have executives that want to like they might want to push AI, but it's very like cautious. It's kind of like we're not just trying to throw AI into everything. There are some executives that they just want to like throw AI into stuff, and like yes, but at a certain point, like from an engineering perspective, like you want to understand like if we build this feature with AI, like does it actually move the needle, or is it just we're using AI to say that we like are building AI? So we sort of have like those conversations, but I think the majority of like my clients, they get that AI is important. They just want to know like how could this help me? Forget that it's AI. Like, what can these tools do for my business? And like, even something where, again, like we kind of operate at like the 10,000 story view of like Terraform or CDK deployments, like multi account AWS deployments. Like you have all of your secrets configured with like secrets manager or like HashiCorp Vault or something like that. It's all like very complicated, and you have like all these different like test driven development functions like GitHub Actions, auto deployments, and all that type of stuff, right? But then, like, also, what's really interesting, I think, is that take the complexity out of this. It's actually something I started doing with some of my clients, was like take the complexity out of the thing that we're actually going to build. Base minimum, like, what is something that you can do to, like, move the needle? So that might be like building an N8N automation. Have you used N8N?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
right?
that's cool.
It's
like Zapier, but a lot more stuff and open.
Yeah, so it's like being able to plug that in with like all these other tools. So you're calling different APIs, you're using different tools, but like what's nice about it is that it's very visual, and you could like show a client, you could be like, hey, like when I execute this, it's going to do this, and this. Yes, it is step functions. It is what you build on AWS. We're going to build all this in a complicated, in a like a, I guess it's kind of complicated, but it's like more in a configured tech way. But like seeing the base minimum value, I think can iterate a lot faster. That's a lot of what we're doing now with TechSec Playbook is like, let me show you like a quick prototype as opposed to burning through like huge budgets and wasting a lot of time. Like, let me show you something that's like base minimum, what I think can move the needle for you on this specific feature before we just start burning hours. Because it's kind of like yes, I'm an agency, but I want to understand what is something that actually would be pivotal for you in your business. Because if we could automate something that could help your business move like 20 paces faster as you move forward, that's significant. Or something that could save you like a significant amount of money that could help your team perform at an even greater rate. That's something that like I want to build.
I guess that's where the wisdom part comes in, because it's so easy to say, okay, I want to take AI and just feed the whole problem.
Right.
Whereas sometimes it's much better done as a piece of the puzzle. Where like AI is good for the data classification step, but then there's a math part that's better done in Pandas.
Oh, 100%.
And then taking that and then using AI to give that context, right? Where it's not end to end, just throw it in the black box and see what comes out, but using it more focused.
No, literally. So that's a lot of what I've been trying to build with TechStack Playbook is like tech, like epic tech that moves the needle for businesses. And that's exciting. Like it's we've never had a time where we could develop like epic technology just from like a laptop. Usually you would need like hundreds of developers and like, big engineering rooms, in some high-rise apartment in New York. And now you can do all of this from like a single laptop. So
what I find crazy, and tell me if you agree with the AI part, but like understanding a code base.
Yeah.
Like I deal with code bases that are quite large that I will pick up from time to time. And I'll say, show me exactly where this feature is and show me the files of this. Like that to me is the most powerful thing. Because when you're a consultant, you're often context switching a lot.
Yes.
And so you'll say, okay, show me where this is.
Yeah.
Show me what was I thinking with these set of git commits 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I literally do that with Kiro a lot. Is like, help me understand how this code base runs. Help me understand how this feature is supposed to work in this functionality. And it was like, oh yeah, you read this file. Okay, this is what this is for. Okay, reading this file. Okay, this is what it's for. And then you'll sort of have this like long running chain of command of like this file connects to this, and then you could even have like a little blurb at the end of like, here's the steps to execute this thing. It's great. I don't know how I would have gotten development done before any of this type of stuff, because I would just be searching, aimlessly probably for hours until I find the one thing. But then that one thing is like only a piece of it.
And it's funny that like when you watch what the agents are doing, they're doing the same things that we do. Like it's just throwing things into rip grep, right? Say, show me how the logging system works, and it's doing, it's looking at the files, grepping their names for things, and in those files that it finds, grepping the context. Again, it's doing the exact same things that we do, just a lot faster.
Yeah.
And without the overhead of human doing it.
Exactly.
Okay, so in terms of AI tooling, what is your biggest pain point right now? What would you say, okay, if I could improve this one thing, it would be better?
Biggest pain point? It's a good question. I feel like a lot of my problems that come from it are just, they become like human problems. So it's kind of like I feel like the AI should be able to solve this one problem, but then it won't. And it's not even like a specific tool. This is just like AI tools in general, but it'll be like, it's programmed to think like a certain way, and like that way just doesn't work. And I have to kind of like explain, like, I know you can't see it, but like this isn't working, like the tech ain't working. And then you can't, like, it can't really see what you see. So that's kind of where like, I think the pain point is like, at a certain point, you sort of have to be like, the AI is just, it's cooked. It can't help me further. Like I need to figure out the real solution. And that's where the human ingenuity comes in, because then you got to put on your human hat and think like, okay, like the AI isn't doing what I need to do. I actually need to understand what's going on.
I have a suggestion, and not that this always helps.
Go for it.
There's an MCP server that I use called Zen MCP. Have you ever used this?
No.
So that can marshal out to a lot of other models. So it runs, I use it from within Claude Code.
Okay.
But then sometimes, so one thing, like if Claude Code says something and Zen is kind of keeping track of the chain of thought, and then really, like you can just like, really question mark, I don't believe you. And that will trigger Zen MCP's challenge tool, where it will like re-introspect on that last step with a lot more thoroughness, and it might throw it into Gemini or something.
Oh, cool.
So if Claude is thinking a certain way, you get a different perspective on it.
This is an MCP server?
Yes, Zen MCP. And so you'll burn through like an exponential amount of tokens, because you're using your Claude, you're using Claude to talk to Gemini and vice versa. But I do find like challenge the assumption, or if you were in any way combative, it'll call the challenge tool.
Oh,
and that like kind of helps it. Like, I don't believe this assumption you just made. I don't think that's right. And that I found that kind of unsticks it sometimes.
Cool.
So that
I'll definitely check that out. That's a good one.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm trying to. I read this great article just a few days ago where it said, don't try to correct the course. Just go back to where it went wrong and start again.
Yeah, I feel like I've had to do a lot of that, like starting from zero and be like, forget everything that you've said, like do this thing again. Yeah, it's just, there's sometimes too where just like the AI just like doesn't get it, and then I'm thinking like, is it a prompting question? Is it whatever? But then I think we sort of forget perspective of like, these AI tools are not omnipotent beings that like know everything. They know a lot of stuff, but it's like putting it into context where like an AI with like a human that's really like motivated and ambitious will figure out the solution. That's where like sometimes like I'll have to go in and be like, okay, I really need to understand how this works, right? Like you really need to then go and like do the work. But I think that's where like AI can only get you so far. You still need to put in the work and understand like how it's going. But yeah, I mean, these AI tools are getting smarter and smarter, and I've almost found myself switching between different AI models just to get different perspectives. Because it's kind of like, yeah, you could get like FANG engineers from Google or Amazon or Anthropic, right? Like you can get these much smarter models with trained on completely different data sets, so that you can then get like different perspectives of like how would this super brain address this problem? How would this super brain address it? And then kind of compare them. So
It is funny how you can have this AI that you think is okay, it's like a generalist, but then using your prompt to give it a persona, like
Mhm.
it really does help.
Yeah, it does.
What was the guy's name? Debano. He came up with this. This is an older management guy, but he came up with this principle of like different colored hats.
Oh,
And it's like you're the same person, but like you put on a certain hat. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Okay, these are Debano's thinking hats,
okay.
and he's saying, okay, like if you got your white hat on, you're just collecting facts. In the red hat, you allow your feelings. Blue is review. And the idea is like sometimes in a group discussion, like if you have a point to make, like a criticism, you get so fixated on the criticism and making sure the criticism's heard that you forget the good part. And so by using these different hats, actually, this would be a fun little thing. We should do an MCP or something that has the Debano hats,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then just tell, okay, using all of your different hats, go through this idea.
Yeah.
And I think his idea was in these like corporate meetings, like basically how do you think as a group productively was his thing. So he do
Yeah.
the corporate consulting, and it's I think now like with AI agents, it is funny that like you have to extract a certain persona out of them.
Yeah, you really do. Yeah, especially like if it's not getting something, you sort of want to be like, I want you to think more deeply or more carefully about this specific problem that we're facing. And also, like, I noticed like using inclusive language where it's like great job, like we're gonna tackle this next thing next. It's like I feel like I don't know if it actually does anything, but I've noticed that like when you give it positive feedback, it will like continue to go along the path that it did. And like if it's cooking and doing a lot of really good stuff, then you can sort of be like, continue what you're doing. This is really great. I want us to now do this. So it's kind of trained on like, okay, this is like a positive outcome. Let's continue that vibe.
So I guess to use the AI terminology, there's something in the latent space of like good vibes lead to good outcomes.
Yeah.
It's like really built, and it is built into like humanity, right? Like, I saw this the study that like good positive reinforcement is like 20 times better than negative.
Oh, for sure.
And so instead of just telling the AI, "Oh, you stupid idiot, you went down this thing," like it's just going to put its digital tail between its legs and not help you, right? So luckily, you go back to where you diverged and try a different way.
Yeah, exactly. It's also interesting. Like I'm sure you probably have done this. It's like when you talk to like ChatGPT, any of these models where it's tracking your memory over time. That's one of the things too that I wish these IDE like code Claude Code or Q or any of these other ones. It's like or like I wish that they had like a way to store your memory, because it's interesting if you ask Chat like describe me or describe how we talk to each other. Because if you are like talking to it and you're like, I'm gonna unplug you if you don't get this answer like in the next prompt, and like I don't know, the things that people claim like helps get a better prompt versus like if you're encouraging, if you're supportive, if you're enthusiastic, I feel like that matters in the sense of like how it thinks, how it codes, like how it should talk to you. Because if you also think about it, it's like think of it like a junior intern that's starting out on the job and they don't know who you are, or like a junior just like an engineer and like they're joining your team and like they have no context of you, and you just start like barking orders. It's kind of be like you wouldn't treat a person like that if you want them to perform at their maximum capacity. In my opinion, you want to create a supportive environment for them to crush, for them to over exceed on expectations and deliver immense value. So that's kind of where like with these AI tools, I think you sort of have to be careful of like bringing in like a complex sort of EQ to the conversation, so that like it is like understanding what you want, but also you're not berating it if it makes a mistake.
Well, and that's where you want to like how you talk to kids. It's like, okay, just I need to know everything. I won't get mad at you.
Yeah,
but just don't make stuff up. I need to know exactly what happened.
Right. Don't hallucinate.
And I think it's the same with an AI, right? You have to do to give it the right frame of mind.
Oh, for sure. I've also noticed too, like, have you used Tailwind CSS like a little bit?
Well, I've had Claude do it for me.
Sure, but you're familiar, like,
Yeah.
as a framework, right? So, when I was in New York, one of the people after my talk came up to me and said, like, I had a lot of issues with the migration from V3 to V4 of Tailwind, and I said, like, amen, because I totally was like, I know what you're talking about. I experienced the same thing. And he was like, well, what would you suggest of like a solution to do that? And I was thinking, if you could like extract all, or like basically web scrape all of those documentation and like put it into a PDF file and then put it into your prompt, well, then now it has all the context. So that's like ways, but like if you think about like if you're talking to AI, and like remember like in school, like you learned, I think it was geometry, and then you did maybe like algebra and then algebra 2 or something, and then maybe you did pre-calc and then calc. And then trigonometry after that. It's like you wouldn't just automatically start with trigonometry. So if you're asking questions about that and it has no context, you're just going to be like getting frustrated with an AI that like wasn't trained on those things. So I think it's kind of like bringing a little bit of compassion to how you talk to these AI tools, because it would be like if you haven't studied pre-calc, you certainly don't understand calc, and then you don't understand trigonometry. But then if you're talking to it and it's like, well, why don't you understand trigonometry? I've been talking to you for like 15 minutes. It's going to be like, maybe you as the human need to bring in context to elevate the conversation.
And it's not in an anthropomorphic way, like you're going to quote, like hurt its feelings.
Right.
But it's really like, oh, as part of being an empathetic person, I can understand other people's perspective and the amount of information. And in this case, they don't have any information,
right,
because I just cleared the context window.
Yeah, literally.
So they just have general information, and they know as much about my problem as they do about Jeopardy from 1987.
Right.
And so I have to kind of bring it into focus a bit.
Yeah, and that's where like you can bring in like a lot of knowledge. It's just like these tools are impressive, but sometimes you really do need to like give it like a 101 on like Tailwind CSS, and this is what the new version is. And even just copying like one page of docs can be really helpful to just be like, hey, I want you to forget what you know about Tailwind and use all of this context. And then it'll be like, okay, I'm going to do this. It sometimes might revert back, but still, again, like if you don't have that trigonometry like background, you're going to start being like, oh, I don't know like how to think about that.
I remember once I did some kind of version porting project. It wasn't Tailwind, but it was some other thing that there were a lot of little things that came up. Actually, it might have been converting from like to the Converse API.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And I had a project that extensively used whatever the predecessor was, like the Invoke, and I wanted to use Converse.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had gotten that all done, I had a diff, and I said, okay, I saved that diff, and I said, this is within this diff are all things you need to know about how to do this porting. And then in future projects where anything came up, I can just point it to that diff and say, these are changes that you would need to make.
Yeah.
And that I do think we don't have enough, like that's where like thinking like, okay, it's like a context, but also reading a Git diff for humans is kind of unpleasant, but it doesn't care. That's as pleasant as anything else.
Yeah, literally.
So I mean, we're still learning how to use these things effectively.
Yeah.
That's basically what comes down to for me. I do feel like we're in a very big, the tooling that we have for this stuff is very immature.
Oh, for sure. But it's only going to get better. I mean, I'm very optimistic about where our industry is going. I think it's just, it's like we can't expect everything to be solvable right now. But I don't think we'll ever have everything all solvable. But like we can use tools to run faster, to think more deeply, to have better research. Like when deep research came out from like Perplexity, I started using that like crazy. It was so helpful just to sort of be like, do a huge scan of the internet and create a report of this specific thing. And this was teaching me like a lot of Terraform stuff, a lot of CDK stuff, a lot of AWS stuff, even like business thinking. Like I was using it to actually help me with like improving a lot of facets of TechStack Playbook of like when we're working with clients, like what do you suggest here? I want to win this contract or this business. Like what should I do here? And then sort of have it like take on a persona of like, I want you to be the best sales expert. Help me rizz up TechStack Playbook. Like that's something that like I did a lot. And I wanted to understand like from an outside perspective, like I want my business to seem innovative, to seem cool. Help me do that. Because sometimes like I recognize like my human limitation of like I'm too in the system. I need like an outside perspective. So it helps.
And that's a great way of thinking is that right you use AI for your your stuff. Like I guess I had that feeling when I thought I was trying to write this program to deal with these weird JSON files, and they were all
Mhm.
inconsistent, and I needed them to be consistent. And I thought I was trying to get AI to help me make a program. But I was like, this is just a one-off task. Why don't I just have AI do the job
Yeah.
and not? And I was okay. I was thinking like a programmer that I needed a program to solve this, whereas
Mm.
it was kind of a change in my mindset. Like I don't have to think like a programmer. Then that's my limited view of looking at the world, and I can also think about it as a salesperson and a marketing person
Yeah.
and whatever other persona I need to assume at that time.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And then thinking AI is also a great, I don't know, football coach and math tutor and all the other
Yeah.
stuff that I haven't used it for, but other people are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everyone's using all these tools in unique ways. It's kind of exciting to think like and everybody always says like these are these tools are the worst they'll ever be, at this time. Like they're
Yeah.
only going to get better. So
We're not going to regress.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we're only moving forward. So I'm excited. That's kind of where and again, like coming out of the AWS Summit, like I'm in the AWS Hero Summit, like I'm very excited about the future of development. I just think we really need to bring like a human element to development because again, like it's very easy to just be like, oh, the AI is down. I don't know what to do. It's kind of like we can't get to a point because do you remember last year there was like the CrowdStrike issue? It was like
Yeah.
CrowdStrike went
Yes,
down.
where everything went down and
Yeah.
I remember that.
So that's kind of like, and then again, that wasn't completely at all related to vibe coding, as far as I understand. Like, obviously not. But it's like if you have like an outage and there's a problem, you'd be like, oh, ChatGPT is down, so now I can't fix this major outage that's like affecting
Just gonna
like
go home, right?
millions of people. Yeah, I'm just gonna go home and wait until tomorrow. Like, there's gonna be real people that need to solve real problems. So yes, like humans with AI will outperform, but at the end of the day, too, like you will need really smart people that are excited to solve tough problems. That's a lot of like the motivation of Tech Stack Playbook was like wanting to be the agency that solves really tough issues, really tough problems. Because there's a lot of companies that when I talk to clients, even consultants that like we work with, a lot of them will be like, yeah, like we were working with these people, but like they'll say it's out of scope and they won't touch something.
Well, that's handy, right? Oh yeah, out of scope because we don't know how to do it.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, are you saying it's out of scope because you don't know how to do it, or that you don't want to do it? Because at a certain point, like, if there's a problem, if there's a blockage, someone needs to figure it out, and you can't just hide behind a veil of like, oh, well, we only focus on this, where that you need to find someone else to do it. It's kind of like, well, why don't you figure it out and solve it?
Well, that's the business owner, right? Everything is in scope, right? The company water cooler being out or the company toilet being clogged is in scope if it's blocking you.
Right, and that's where I remember when I was building Tech Stack Playbook originally. I got a lot of opinions from a lot of amazing people, but one of the things that I was told time and time again was don't be a generalist, be a specialist. But I don't think that you could ever afford to be a specialist because, especially when you're building a business and you're trying to find like your business model. Yeah, sure, like you might like lay into like, okay, we're gonna do app development, and that's like Next.js, and we're really good at those types of things. But nowadays, with like tech moving so fast, like seldom do things operate in a silo. Kind of like if you like only know Databricks. Okay, like Databricks, amazing set of skills, but how does Databricks connect to servers that can work with apps, that can work with internal tooling, that can work with data lakes and those types of things? Like very seldom do things just operate within like one singular skill framework or platform. And that's a lot of like where I have tried to extend my company to do that is like, not that everything's in scope because obviously like we're not, architecting bridges, and like building buildings, or focus on software for now. But like when you think about stuff like recently we've had to deal with like maybe like a certain project, but then another team is working on something else, but they're blocked up. So how do we help them get from where they need to be to where we need their work? So if we can extend halfway, even like 3/4 of the way, they might be able to do that other quarter, and then now we have like a link to be able to link our works together. So that's kind of where I do feel like with these AI tools, like the industry will move so much faster. So everything is in scope to a certain extent. You can't afford for it not to be.
Yeah, and everything is. I think the most important thing, which you so well exemplifies, how to learn quickly and how to kind of anticipate where things are going.
Right.
So, okay, wrapping up, question: how do you motivate young people who see this whole thing and say, okay, what's my role in this? Before you know anything, right? Where on the one hand you don't have any skills, on the other hand there's kind of no sunk costs either.
So like how to navigate just like the current state of things.
Yeah, if you're just gonna jump in, like where do you start?
Yeah, I would say find something that you're excited about. One of the things that I think would actually be really helpful for anyone that's into reading or listening to audiobooks, Atomic Habits by James Clear is an amazing book. That was what taught me about habit stacking. A really great software project I think that anyone should build is a habit tracking application. Because what you're going to do is that, first of all, you're going to learn full stack software engineering, which is going to be awesome. And if you've never done that before, that's like, you need like your first project to be like, I'm excited about these things, and it extends. So you're going to learn data modeling. How does the data work of like, I have these habits that I'm checking every day, like change over time, like what did I do over each day? So you're going to learn about, databases and data modeling, authentication, like having to log in, log out, storage, hosting. You're going to learn like even the UI of like, do I build a desktop application or do I build a mobile application? I think desktop is easiest, but I would say just like find something that you're excited about. And I think a productivity application is like the perfect project because first of all, you'll have like buy-in because you'll be like, oh, this could help me, right? Yeah. Like solve, like become more productive, help me habit stack. And there's all these like vibe coding tools out there. Like there's bolt.new, there's Lovable, which I know we talked about. Like I'm trying to think, what are the other ones that I've used? I mean, not the like Hero or Claude Code, but I feel like I sort of and Replic's AI agent. Like I use those a lot. So find like a vibe coding platform, and then you might have like a certain limit on tokens, but then start to develop beyond that. So it's kind of like, okay, the AI is helping us get here, but then like learn how to develop past the number of tokens that you're limited, so that you don't just do like, oh, I got my 15 minutes of coding in today. Like extend beyond it, like use your brain. That's what I would tell anyone is like find a project they're excited about, experiment with the vibe coding platforms, and then just get excited. Like we've never been in a time where you could learn and build this quickly ever, It's exciting.
It is. It's pretty cool. Well, thank you so much for the great conversation. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right. Take care. All right. That was good. We got an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, great.
Nice. All right. Let's